What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Pennell here. We're going road course racing for the final time this season at the Charlotte Roval for the Bank of America 400. This will take place on Sunday, October 13th around 2 p.m. Eastern. And while I'm not exactly sure how entertaining this race is going to be, we do have a couple of things working for us. We do have the new reconfiguration for this track, so it should throw a bit of a wrench into things. And we also have the playoff factor, as this is the last race for the round of 12 to see which 4 drivers end up getting cut. And we'll see 8 advance to the next round. But anyway, this happens to be your first time here. What's up? My name is Pennell. I break down NASCAR and NFL DFS each and every single week on this channel. If you want to view the NFL content, I post a video every single Saturday morning if you want to check that out. Really quick, I gave a shout out to last week's comment contest winner, Andrew, who was the closest to Michael McDowell's laps led. He guessed 44, Michael led 42. There was a few of you that were very, very close, but it was a tight race. And if you enjoyed this week, all you gotta do is comment down below who you think is gonna lead the most laps and how many, and the winner will get a cash prize. And if you enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for the Roval. It's not gonna be anything out of the ordinary. It's just a typical road course type of build. Although I do think with the new reconfiguration and with the playoffs on the line, this could be a little chaotic. I would not be surprised if we see a couple of cautions and maybe a couple of pop-ups. We will see what ends up happening. But I am pretty much playing this as I would any other road course, where we'll have to see how qualifying ends up shaking out. But place differential and finishing position are pretty much the name of the game. There's just not as much laps as there is at normal tracks for dominator points to be too spectacular to want to build around. Now, if you have the main dominator or two in your build, that's perfectly fine. But finishing position and place differential are going to be the name of the game. There's going to be drivers that stay out for stage points. The field's going to get flipped a couple of times, so definitely prepare for that. So really, the main part is just try to get the drivers that you think can end up finishing high, the guys that are good at road courses and aren't going to completely sell out for stage points. Because we definitely want the guys that are going to end up going for the win and not burying themselves in stage 3. All right, just to take a look at some of the green flag speed numbers before practice, I just want to point out like which drivers have had some speed at the road courses this year. So if we look at the overall, it's going to look different. Like we're always going to see Denny Hamlin, Larson, Byron, Truex, Reddick, some combination of that typically. But if we look at road courses, just the next gen in general, SVG tops the list, which I don't think anybody should be surprised about. Chase Elliott, AJ Allmendinger, Chris Buescher, Reddick, Byron, like all these guys have been extremely good at road courses, typically bring a ton of speed. If we look at the road courses this season, SVG once again up top, then Chastain, Buescher, Dinger, Gibbs, Bell. Now the good thing about some of these drivers is, or actually the top 4 drivers that have had the fastest speed at the road courses, you don't have to worry about them selling out for stage points because they're going for the race win. None of these guys are in the playoffs. SVG doesn't care. Chastain, Buescher, Dinger, like these guys are going for the race win. Even with Ty Gibbs, he's no longer in the playoffs as well. So that's something to think about. And if you sort this by how I want to weight everything this weekend, Buescher, another guy you don't have to worry about. Chastain, Byron, he's at the top of the playoff board. Chase Elliott is not. He's at the very bottom, which could be a bit worrisome. Kyle Larson, Reddick, SVG. So once we see practice on Saturday, don't be surprised if these are the drivers you see end up practicing well and qualifying well. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown, I did to mention one thing first, and that is, of course, if you enjoy the best NASCAR and NFL DFS community out there, link is down below in the description or the pinned comment for that. Access into the entire models for NFL or NASCAR. We have NBA coming very soon. Projections for both sports, optimizer, ownership projections, cheat sheets, all that good stuff, the betting models, simulations, whatever you want. And as you know, I'm partner of Stochastic, and they have all their sims tool for all sports, including NASCAR, but we have NFL season in full swing. So if you want to check it out, you can use the link down in the description or the pinned comment. You give yourself an edge on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever the games happen to be. You can use their single lineup simulator, contest generator, and sim out the entire slate before it ends up happening. You can find which drivers or players offer the best ROI before the race or game starts. You can see which one to stack up the best in tournaments. If you want to check it out, use the link down in the description or the pinned comment, and make sure you tell them I sent you. All right, it's a new day, new shirt, and we are ready to break this down. We did have practice, we did have qualifying. If we look at the practice session overall, I mean, the top of the board, I don't think we should be surprised there with SVG. He was the favorite heading into this race. He's on the pole for the Xfinity race. He's on the pole for the Cup race. I mean, he just crushes these types of tracks. So, I mean, absolutely no surprise there if you're looking at the overall lap by lap data. Cleared everybody by a lot. It's going to be another really good day for SVG, assuming there is no issues to be had. Tyler Reddick right behind him in the overall lap data. But if we're looking at the consecutive lap averages weighted with the lap data, William Byron, Kyle Larson, all guys that have been exceptional at road courses this year. Ryan Blaney was up there. Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain. Truex may be a little surprising. We know he's had success at road courses before. Qualifying did not really go his way, but I mean, this kind of looks how you'd expect a practice results page to look for a road course, Roval race. I mean, it's not like it's Watkins Glen or Sonoma. This is a bit of a different style of road course racing. It's definitely a bit of a twist, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. But let's get into it here. We'll start with the 5-figure range first. We only have 3 drivers this weekend, the 2 colleague cars, and then also Kyle Larson here at $10,200. Hard to say there's too much of a difference between these guys. Kyle Larson is 3rd in points. Now, there's going to be a bit of an issue with some guys' points racing for this, like Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick. They're kind of on the bottom of the cut line as far as the playoff round is concerned. So that's one thing to be a bit worried about, because if we put ourselves in a bad situation for stage 3, that's going to suck for DFS. It could be good for them for the real life racing, of course, but we could get buried deep in the pack. So that is something to keep in mind, although I do think this race could get a bit chaotic at some point. So it could all blend together just fine, but it's just something to think about at the very least. But SVG and AJ Allmendinger, these are going to be 2 of your top plays. It would not surprise me if they're running 1-2. It wouldn't surprise me if they finish this race all inside the top 3 here. SVG is a fine cash play. Like, I know he's starting the pole, and that can be a bit dangerous for road courses, but I mean, we don't have to worry about any unoptimal strategy here. He's going to be going for the race win. We have nothing to worry about. Same with AJ Allmendinger. So both are fine plays, but if I had to pick one, it is going to be SVG. Kyle Larson, also solid. Like, he is right there with him. He just offers a little bit more place differential. He should be lower owned than SVG. At least that's my assumption. I have not yet ran any projections or anything like that, but I think he'll be less owned. So that could be a pivot. Same with AJ Allmendinger. They're just really a pivot off of SVG, who should get a good amount of ownership. Dropping out of the 9K range, all solid road course racers here with William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Busher, and Christopher Bell. We have Willie B plus 74 in the cut. He's at the top of the board here. He'll be starting in 10th, so a lot of speed overall. He's been one of the best road course racers in the next gen era. Love that price point on FanDuel, only 11.5. Still a nice price point on DraftKings, but I mean, yeah, he's a very solid play overall. Chase Elliott not too far behind him, although the issue is he's the bottom of the points board here, so that could put him in a bit of a pinch at times. I would prefer William Byron, but we do know he's one of the best road course racers, and if he's got the opportunity to go for the win, we'll see what the strategy ends up being. Tyler Reddick starting in 2nd. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to get to him, I think, because he could also be points racing, and starting in 2nd, there's just a lot of downside there when I have SVG starting right beside him on the front row, who is going to go for the race win. Same with AJ Allmendinger and a couple other guys around him. So it's a little bit more difficult to probably get the Tyler Reddick. Like, he should run well, but when I have Chris Busher starting in 29, who we know he's not worried about the playoffs, starting in 29, just won a road course race. He's in the top 10 pretty much every single road course race since the next gen started. Like, yeah, I'd much rather get the Chris Busher personally. Cheaper on FanDuel, cheaper on DraftKings, starts 27 spots further back. He will be one of the absolute top cash game plays of the week. And then we have Christopher Bell, who's 2nd in points. He's starting in 12th. I'd put him right there with William Byron as being a top play in this 9K range as far as potential race winners. But I would prefer Byron a little bit more, but we do get a price discount. $1,500 cheaper on FanDuel, $800 cheaper on DraftKings. Dropping down to the 8K range, Ross Chastain, but one of the most consistent drivers at road courses this year. He'll be starting in 16th. Love the price on FanDuel. Really easy to get him over there. Definitely will have exposure to him this weekend. Same with Michael McDowell. He'll be starting in 21st. Another guy you don't have to worry about the playoffs. Now, he was a lot slower in practice, but he's still one of the more polished guys in the next gen era at these types of tracks. I don't think Michael McDowell is going to be completely out for lunch. I would prefer a Chris Busher starting in 29, so a little bit quicker practice speeds overall. But I mean, Michael McDowell is still a very solid play. Same with Ty Gibbs. Like, everybody from Busher to Gibbs here, this is a really good range. Even we can extend this. Honestly, just all these guys are very solid plays. I guess I won't go too in depth here, but Ty Gibbs has been one of the best road course racers. He's starting in 19th. I know he was slow in the lap in practice in the 5 lap, but I mean, he'll be better than 19th, I think, by the end of this race. Kyle Buschman, one of the most consistent drivers of road courses. I guess I could probably pull up the stats here so you guys can at least see it. So this is the 2024 season at the road courses. And as you can see, Ty Gibbs, talking about a 6-race sample size, he's been in the top 5, 3 out of 6 races. Kyle Busch has been in the top 5, 2 out of 6 races. Alex Bowman in the top 5 and 2. Just won a race, which was at Chicago. Now, Martin Truex Jr. has not had the same type of success, but starting in 30th, I mean, he doesn't have to do too much, especially on FanDuel. $7,500. Like, if he could just limp his way to 15th, that's a solid play overall. But this is a really good range. And that's why it might be a little bit tougher. Like, if you're trying to jam in SVG or Dinger, like potential race winners, maybe even a Byron, it's going to be kind of more difficult to get to a couple of these 9K guys. But this 8K range looks really, really good. And since we not really worried about dominator points, I mean, you can get away with not playing SVG, whatnot. Like, say he finishes 3rd and leads 10 laps. Like, is he a good play? Sure. But, I mean, we can get solid, like similar projection upside in this 8K range. I mean, it just makes more sense to be heavier on them and sprinkling in the top guys for potential race winners. Ryan Blaney, $7,800, a little bit lower in the points total. He's in 6th. I have a feeling he could be selling out for some points here, so we'll see what ends up happening. He's been consistently in the top 15 of road courses this year. Like, I think he could probably find himself between 10th to 15th, 10th to 20th, but it's probably not going to get done starting in 14th. Like, he's cheap enough to maybe take some stabs, but not a huge fan of it. He was decent in practice, and in the overall lap by lap data, he did show some promise there. 12th in the 1 lap, 16th to 5, and 8th in the 10. Daniel Suarez, not a lot of interest there. Starting in 13th is not a big fan. So he's one of the drivers on the bubble as well. He's 10th in points currently, only behind Joey Logano for the cutoff. I just don't really see a ton of upside there. I know he's had success at road course in the past, but not loving it. Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, other guys that starting a little bit far up for me. It's not a lot of interest. Denny Hamlin starting in 18th. He just needs to not completely screw up today. He had a complete catastrophe. The last road course we were at on lap 1 with Ryan Blaney, and I forget who else was involved. But I don't see a lot of upside for Denny Hamlin. Like, if he finished right around 18th, I would not be surprised about that. Chase Briscoe, he'll be starting all the way back in 25th, which I think is the best of all the SHR drivers. They just had a horrible day in qualifying. I'm not sure how much better they're going to be race speed wise, but starting in 25th for Briscoe, he's last in the points for the round of 12. He's going to need a miracle for this race. I'm not really sure it's going to happen, but he does offer place differential upside for a guy that's not completely awful at road courses. Dropping down to the 6K range, Keselowski starting in 8th. I don't really see upside there. Todd Gilliland starting in 15th. Todd Gilliland is a good road course driver. Average finish of 18th, running position just inside the top 20, but I like him to start further back, so I don't really have a lot of interest there. Noah Gragson starting in 32nd. I don't think his finish upside in the grand scheme of things could be too much different than Todd Gilliland. Like, yes, I would say Gilly finishes higher more often than not, but when you're starting 15 spots further up, for DFS purposes, if we can get Gragson to around 20th, I mean, we're not expecting him to win the race or anything at this price point. Like, just getting me some positive place differential. Thing is, though, it's not like he's an absolute must, because if we go down farther this list, we have some other guys that are going to offer place differential. But Wallace starting a bit high for me, it's going to be very difficult to get there. Josh Berry in 36, 4-race sample size this year at road courses. It's not been pretty. Running position of around 27th, average finish of 32nd. There is a turn where it scares me where he could just forget to turn again, which I think he did that at Coda, where he just went straight through. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but he's starting 36. Like, if you think this race could potentially get chaotic a bit and there's going to be some carnage, I mean, he could just find his way to 24th. That would not be out there on a possibility. Justin Haley starting in 33rd. He is a decent road course racer. Average running position inside the top 20 this year. I think he's a fine play. Probably will see some ownership. Don't usually play Stenhouse at the road courses, and starting in 24th, the upside is extremely capped. Hocevar has not been bad this year, 4-race sample size. 16.2 average running position. And I do want to mention that we have a 4-race sample size for the races that I'm looking at this year. And then I also have the 2 Charlotte Roval races mixed in for this 6-race sample size. But Hocevar has not been bad at the road course this year. But the thing is, starting in 20th, we're right back to where classic Hocevar is, where he starts in 20th, probably finishes around 20th. There's just not a lot of upside there. Like, he probably won't kill you, but ceiling performance is probably going to be difficult to get to. Eric Jones, I think, will have ownership. It's not like he's great at road courses, but he'll probably find his way to around 25th somehow, some way. It probably won't be based off of speed. It'll just be off the field shuffling around a few times and some cars crashing out. So if it's not him crashing out, there's a decent chance that he can pick up some spots for us. Austin Dillon, Zane Smith, just a bit high. If I had to pick between those two, I'd actually go with Zane Smith, but not a fan of either, really. Corey LaJoy, no thank you. I'm sure he's going to hit everything on the track. Ryan Preece, decent place differential play here. Average finish of the top 20 this year in 5-race sample size, including also the Charlotte Roval races. Running position around 22nd. Like, yeah, he's fine for PD in the 5K range. Because who else are we really going to get to? I mean, you can try to trust John Nemechek, but the guy's going to spin pretty much every single time. He'll probably gain spots. Again, he's very similar play to Ryan Preece, but man, I just have a hard time trusting Nemechek, Hasgrala, Harrison Burton, yuck, Daniel Hemrick, yuck. Josh Bilicki is not the worst road course race in the world, but the 66 car is not something I really want to invest in too much, so I'm probably going to have to pass. I don't think I'm going to have to go down that low anyway, because it's not like I'm jamming in 3 guys in the 10K range like I would at a short track. Like at the most, I'm probably just going to have 1, and then I can feel pretty balanced at the very least, since it's a road course. With that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you put a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. If you want to check out all the extra content, you're able to find it. Link down below in the description or the pinned comment for the Patreon. Go show the best. See you all next time.